Good evening. Welcome once again to another presentation here of our broadcast, The Issues Room, the alternative social media platform here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We'd like to welcome all of you, our viewers here tonight, to another broadcast. This one going to be a great one, and we encourage you to invite someone, share the link, uh, love us, like us, follow us on Facebook. We're here Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And midnight in the Greenwich time zone. I'm Volcano Shelton. We say welcome. Great conversation here tonight. We'll be featuring uh, a highly well-known educator in Liberia. And before we do that, I'd like to welcome my colleague Moses Sandy. Good evening, Moses. Welcome. I can see you looking a little tense. That's what technology does. And we'll continue until we get this remedy. Imagine, brother, I spent a whole lot of money, new router, modem, and I'm still seeing freezing here. So actually, I don't know what's going on. Uh, how are you? I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you, Moses. So apparently, you didn't remedy the situation. I'm not hearing you. I heard you when you went out, and I don't know why you went out. You should have stayed with us, but then now I'm not hearing you. So I will have to put you. I can't. No need to talk. I'm not hearing you. Honestly, let me check things, but honestly, everything looks good on my end, and I don't think the problem is coming from me. So I will have to move you, and then we'll come back to you while you strive to get yourself together. But again, we want to thank you so much for being there with us. We invite all of you, share the link, uh, bring people on tonight because the conversation is about education and education in particular the University of Liberia. You and I know our university has been around for so many years, but not much has really been put into education in our country. However, under the government of President Weah, he's declared free education, and we're hoping that it's going well. And no other person to tell us the story here tonight and just tell us how the University of Liberia is doing, none other than Dr. Um, I'm not sure I can see him either. Great. Okay, you're there. Dr. Julius J.S. Nelson Jr., the president of the University of Liberia. We'd like to welcome you to the Issues Room. Thanks for accepting our invitation. Um, I know the time difference right now is a little after midnight, and to be up tonight, it means that you really, really wanted to discuss the university. Just tell our audience a little bit about Dr. Nelson.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm happy to be with you tonight. We've been planning this for a long time, but I'm happy that we can catch up with each other during this holiday season, compliment of the season to you and all your guests. Wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous Happy New Year. Julius Judukon Sawulo Nelson, born in Soniwen, grew up in Euclid Town, went to school in Tottenham Broad and Lower Buchanan, came to the University of Liberia, studied zoology and chemistry, and graduated in 1983. Then went on to do graduate work in seminary in Atlanta, Georgia. Spent 4 years there with two master degree, one in divinity and one in youth and student services. Came back home, had the opportunity to work at the Bangor School of Theology, the United Methodist University now, or the College of Theology, invited to join a process to work at the University of Liberia, recruited to be the Dean of Students at the University of Liberia in 2007. And since that time, I've been enjoying the educational sector at the University of Liberia, Dean of Student, Associate Vice President, Dean, acting Vice President of Administration, Academic Affairs, Institutional Development, Chairman of the Philosophy Department, and then in 2019, the 15th President of the University of Liberia.
Wow. Okay. So that puts you closer to the university, knowing the university like a history, being
Yeah.
one of the students from the university. I
Yeah.
know that when you talk about the university, it was not just Rose. Just walk us
No.
through some of the things that you met and taking the job, said, listen, this is not going to work. I'm inheriting something that doesn't make sense here. So let's start from those things that you saw as potential impediments. Then we'll talk about how you kind of strategize to get them taken care of. But let's talk about what the university was before you took over.
Well, I was privileged to be recruited under the presidency of His Excellency Hassan Conte, the current Liberian ambassador to Nigeria. Then we were privileged to work along with the late Professor Emmett Adolphus Dennis, who we spent a lot of time with at the university for over 8 to 10 years. And then Professor Ophelia Inez Wicks, who was on the team with all of us from being dean at the Science and Tech and then vice president academic affairs. All of those years from 2007, I was part of the senior management team. And one thing we dealt with at different times, there were 2 or 3 major problems that we had to deal with. A manual registration process that we had a 4-month semester, but the registration took us more than 6 months because of the process that we had to deal with. And then the issue of the costs for the students who were attending the university and transportation of students that had to leave from the Capitol Hill campus to defend their campus. Those were 3 major areas that we had to deal with for the operation of the university. And the next part was the dependency of the university on subsidy from the government of Liberia to the tune of 85% of our support coming from the government of Liberia. So those were key issues that we dealt with as member of the team. And when I got on board, by the time I could come on, the government of Liberia, through the current government, made a decision to change the manual registration to a digital registration process at the university, and that could do our registration process within a month's time, and students could be anywhere and do their registration. Before that time, students had to get up 4, 5, 6 in the morning, put racks down to make sure they save a space to do the registration. The banks will come on campus, they will leave at 2, students will be in line. And so the whole background to where we are must be understood in the context of where we have come from. From a manual registration that took between 4 to 6 months to complete registration that will continue even after we got to the finishing of the semester, to a digital registration process that will allow students to complete their registration and be in classes and go from there. The next major aspect was the whole question that 60% or more of the students could not pay their tuition and fees. Most of the students were sponsored by over 200 sponsors from around the country, but the major ones who were supporting students were the student organization. The student government gave scholarship to over 5,000 students, even though the leaders of the student government didn't have the money, and they depended on political people to help them pay those different sponsorship. And when we got to the end of the year, most of those sponsorship was not paid. We had to run behind over 200 to 300 supporters who did not pay the student fee. So to leave from one semester to the next semester, it was a lot of halubalu. Students will not pay. You want to keep their grade sheet. There will be strike action. Students being sponsored by students, they could not pay. And so those of us that need to understand how the free tuition policy came into play must see that in the context of what we dealt with before. There were a lot of times, or after several semesters, we will have people in arrears for more than 25 or 40 million Liberian dollars that we could not collect, being sponsored by county legislative caucuses, by different ministries, student groups, county student groups. The student government was the biggest sponsor of students, and they depended on the colleagues who were in the different political sector to sponsor those students. And most of the time, when we received those checks were bouncing as we went to the bank, and we could not collect the different fees from these different student organizations. And that is the background that I want to lay to understand what we call the free tuition policy. At the University of Liberia, we have the registration fee and then the tuition that was $4 per credit hour. When the government made the announcement for public institution undergraduate to have the free tuition policy, it left the opportunity for the students to be responsible for their registration fee while the government of Liberia will pay the tuition. And at this time, the university management had to deal only with the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, then running behind 300 sponsors that were not paying their sponsorship on time. In that context,
so we'll come to that.
Me,
we'll come to that,
yeah.
and we'll go. Okay. Yeah, we'll come to that, and we'll cover that in full bloom. I think
Okay.
Moses seemed to be impatient back there. Let's hope that he's ready to say something. Moses.
Yeah, do you hear me now,
Moses.
Volcano? Yeah,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Moses, we can
You want?
hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look. First, I apologize. Technology as its own way of doing things. But Dr. Nelson, I'd like to join my colleague Volcano in welcoming you to the issues run today. It's really pleasing to have you as one of the most prominent persons in Liberia, heading the second highest learning institution in West Africa. It's really pleasing to have you. Volcano, you were asking a question. Let me pause and give you the opportunity to continue.
Yeah. So I just wanted to feed you in. In the meantime, if you guys just joining us, please share the link, invite someone. We want a lot of people to come here. Students of the university is an opportunity for you to hear from your president and those prospective students that are looking forward to entering the university. I believe the conversation here will open some clarity around why this free education and what are the challenges and so forth. So no better person can be here with us tonight. Moses, the question I asked the doc was the challenges he met, the things that when he got the job, and you get happy when you get appointed and then you go and see what to put before you. You ask yourself, well, why did I take the job? So he was,
Yeah.
laying some of those things out.
Into
One of the
that,
things he
yeah.
talked about was the registration process was being manual, and it took 6 months. So if you take 6 months to get registered, when do you start school? So I'll let you come in at this point, and then we'll continue from there, Moses.
Okay, so just before I put my question, if we could just do some technical work, I can come to the bottom and then both of you be to the top, so that the three of us just can be on the
It's
screen
okay.
like that. You understand? Is it possible to do that?
Oh,
The seating,
I
one at the
did that for a
bottom and two
purpose.
at the
I'm
top.
trying to
Can you
zoom
do?
in and then
Oh, okay. By the way, that
Moses,
yes,
just go.
yeah. So let's. I heard you talk about the challenges and some of the progress that you people have made over the years. I would like to piggyback on the question that Volcano asked earlier. You've been president of the University of Liberia since October 2019,
Yeah.
when President George Weah appointed you. As I said earlier, the UR is one of the oldest universities in West Africa. The university been around since 1886. I mean, 1862. I'm told through
62, Liberia
legislating
College.
argument when Liberia College was established in 1951. It became a university. When you took over the university, can you just bring up to speed where the university was? I know you took over from Dr. Weiss, where the university was, and for the past years, what have you been able to accomplish? Because I noticed that the population of the university is actually expanding. You're almost 19,000, including graduates and undergraduates, right?
We are 22,000 now, 22,000 plus,
Okay.
and there are about 4,000 to 5,000 students who are waiting in the wings for the next academic year.
Okay. So when you took over the university, where was it and what have you been able to accomplish?
Well, it's good to also indicate that I was part of the team.
Okay.
Since 2007, I've been part of the senior management team at the University of Liberia. So I was not coming to that position as a stranger, but being part of the management structure and knew the inner workings of the different units, how we tie that in. I was making clear to your colleague that there were 3 or 4 major issues we had to deal with. Support for the university coming from the government of Liberia, the issue of our registration, the inability of students to pay their fees at the university, and the issue of our faculty profile that we had to make sure, and lastly, the issue of technology being overwhelming us at that particular point. And so the decision of the government of Liberia to move us from a manual registration to a digital registration process was a major turning point in the life of the university. And we need to say that clearly, because if we went through a 3 to 4 months process for a registration and the academic semester is around at the same time, but there will be a lot of demonstration that a 4-month semester will end to be 6 months, then we knew that the registration process was a major stumbling block at the university. And so the digitization process of our registration exercise made a big difference in the semester that we were running at the university. The payment of tuition and fees by students. I was sharing with your colleagues, we have more than 200 plus institutions sponsoring students, and the student government was the largest supporter or sponsor for students at the university, even though the student government did not have the money. So they had to rely on politicians or other agencies supporting them. At the end of every semester, we had students who were in arrears between 8 to 10,000 students out of the 15 to 18,000 that were registering. About 8 to 12,000 of them could not pay their fees at the University of Liberia. And if we had to stop them from registering to the next semester, there will be student demonstration and strike that we are leaving them out of the educational sector. So that was the second major issue. That's what led the government of Liberia through the current government, the CDC government, to make the decision that another way to assist the university was to make sure to have a free tuition policy. We suggested that the students will pay the registration fee. Currently, it's about 2,500 Liberian dollars, or the equivalent of $14.85 US. And the government of Liberia will pay whatever the cost will be for you carrying 15 credit, 18 credit, or 21 credit at $4 per credit hour. The management of the university at this time had to only go to the Ministry of Finance instead of running behind 200 to 300 sponsors that were not paying the fees at the university. And sometimes they will give us checks, and those checks will be bouncing all the way to Firestone, and we could not collect the funding every semester from those sponsors or students at the University of Liberia.
Okay. And how is that the free tuition policy for the undergraduates? Tell us, Dr. Nelson, how is that working for the University of Liberia and other community colleges and universities in Liberia? Because looking at the university finances, we realize that most of your funding comes from government, and government provides over 85% of funding for the University of Liberia. In terms of tuition and fees, the university raises the rest of the money. So when the free education policy was introduced by President Weah in 2020, how effective is that? Yeah, okay. How helpful has that been to the university? Are you ready getting the money?
Yes, we are getting the money. 2, we don't have to run behind 300 sponsors who could not pay on time. And so for us as the managers of the university, it is easier to deal only with one sponsor, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, work up a payment schedule, than to run behind 300 sponsors who will say they will sponsor students and not be able to pay. So for us, the impact we are having is different. Additionally, right now, the government gave all of our salary support. We don't have to deal with the issue of salary. We are paid on time at the university. It is good to report that right now we have paid our staff for December, and everything is current on the issue of salary, and we're dealing with the issue of the operation. But the graduate students pay their tuition and fees, And for the undergraduate student, it is a tuition-free policy and not necessarily a free education policy, because the students themselves still pay their registration fee at the University of Liberia. And we are able to balance the exercise. Sometimes there will be delay, but at least we don't have to run behind 300 sponsors that were not paying their sponsorship to the university on time. We can work with the Minister of Finance and his team. We'll work it out at the appropriate time. We know the number of students who are entering undergraduate in the semester. We do the calculation, and we have to only go to the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning to work out the payment process, then run behind 200 to 300 sponsors who were now ready and willing to pay their own sponsorship of students they were sponsoring at the university.
Oh, wow. Volcano, any question?
So let me come in quick and ask this question. You talk. What's this? Are you
Yeah, go ahead.
hearing me?
Yeah. I'm hearing you.
So
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Doc, quickly, the question I want to ask is, what's this? I'm talking. I don't know if you're not hearing me.
No, I'm listening to you.
The question I want
We are listening. Dr. Nelson,
you keep
I'm
saying go
listening to
ahead,
you, but you're breaking.
it's just
Yeah. Okay.
but you keep saying go ahead. So okay.
I think there's a delay from your
quickly,
end.
Dr.
Yeah.
Nelson, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. Yes, I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay, good. So the question I wanted to ask you is that the influx of new students to the university, you talk about 5,000 students waiting to enter the university. Where's the infrastructure to hold all of these people? The average attendance to the university, I don't know if it's improved, but there were people who took 10 years to get a bachelor's degree. And it had to do with the crisis, of course. It had to do with the lack of funding. It had to do with the many closure, the pauses, and all of that. At this time, are you really putting people out within the 4 years and the space being created? So my thought is, the university is like our prison system now in Liberia. It's just an analogy I'm making, where they said no more space so people can, when the prisoner create they look at the crime, they say, okay, it's not too big, we'll put you outside because we ain't got space. So I'm thinking here,
Well,
is the university
that perception is not right. The university,
I'm just saying.
Now I'm saying there is a perception here you are presenting. And
No,
I'm telling you that perception is not right. You are creating it, but I have the responsibility to also let you know and your audience that perspective, that perception is not right. The university had issues in the past. The university had the issue after I told you about the manual registration. We did not have the support of the government. When you talk about that time in 2004 to 2010, the university support from the government was less than 10 million US dollars for the running of a state-run university. That has changed. We are having semester 4 months to conclude the semester. In the past, there will be one semester for 9 months and several demonstrations because people were not paid on time. So that is the historical part of the university. The current reality of the university is that we are doing our semester for 16
what is the
weeks.
Budget now?
The budget now is between the support from the government is about 16, 17 million, but the university entire budget is between 22 million to 29 million currently at the University of Liberia.
And how do you raise that extra money?
When I joined the university, it was the support from the government was 1.4 million in 2007.
How are you raising the extra money?
Well, the problem, let's understand that the bulk of that particular funding I'm talking about comes from salary support that come from government to those of us who work in the educational sector at the University of Liberia. So salary support is between 19 to 21 million. Besides government support, we raise the tuition and fees that come from graduate and professional school. There are other internal collection that we make that we raise between 3 to 5 million from the university, and in addition to what we receive from the government of Liberia. But it's good to put in context that in 2004 to 2008, the support of the government was 1.4 million, but where we are now, the support of the government is 17 million plus that we are receiving from the government for the running of the state-run university. So it's good to put that context in place to understand where we come from a one semester being 9 months or 12 months to a regular 16-week semester that we are running and having graduation on schedule. We know when we'll start. We know when we'll have graduation. That was not the case few years ago. So those of us who are dealing with the issue of the university cannot use the past or be captive of the past and think that the past will remain a part of the university. No, we are in a different age. We learn from the experiences of the past. We are dealing with the present in our ability to give birth to the future. But we cannot be captive of the past that most people remember and think that we're having semester for 9 months or 12 months at the University of Liberia, or that the support from the government is below 2 million when it's approaching 21 million. And so those two contexts must be put correctly in the context of what we are dealing with at the University of Liberia. Our faculty profile has changed gradually in the process. We're doing more development for our faculty. And so if you give free tuition policy, the hunger for education in Liberia is all over the country. There are young people who are graduating that want to get the better of their education. The students who are waiting, 60% of those students are the 16 years old to 22 years old. In the past of the university, those that were coming were 29 years old to 35 years old. So we have the hunger for education, and these students are coming. We must prepare the room, and thank God there are community colleges, other universities that will absorb some of these students for the educational sector in Liberia. But I don't want us to keep ourselves in the past and start dealing with the university in the present. The present is reflective of what is happening from the government support and those who are longing in the educational sector to improve the process at the university, and it don't resemble a prison compound that we just putting people out without getting their particular material that they have to complete before they graduate from the University of Liberia.
Okay, so Dr. Nelson, let me just piggyback.
Moses. My question was not answered, and the question has to do with
go ahead.
The current capacity DAG of the university, and to absorb 22,000 and the number still counting. Are you building new structure to hold the continued growth of the university? Because again, the point I was trying to make in the analogy, maybe it came across a little too harsh, but if you have a room size that has a capacity of 50 people and you got 75 people and you got 100 people and you got to absorb them, and you don't build a new space or purchase a new space, how do you do that? That was where I was coming from.
Volcano, they're good to understand what do we have now at the University of Liberia. There's a Capitol Hill campus that a lot of you in the U.S. are used to, and when you conceptualize the university, you only think about Capitol Hill. No. Beside Capitol Hill, we have the College of Health Science, the medical school. We have a technical and vocational college in St. J, and we have the Findale campus, 5,800 acres, where majority of the undergraduate students go night a day for their particular educational sojourn. So the campuses of the university are full, diverse, and we get to continue building structure to accommodate these students. So the university is not only the Capitol Hill that when we were students, everything was at the Capitol Hill. No, we got additional campuses that is absorbing. At the same time, we need to put in place additional structure to receive these students who are coming, build additional faculty profile to meet the demands of the faculty-student ratio. But the campuses are more than one. It's not only Capitol Hill. We have Findale. Beside the business college, all the other undergraduate colleges are the Findale campus, where we have 5,800 acres. We have structures there that can accommodate. We are building additional with the resources we can get. And then when we go to St. J, in Cape Mount, in Grand Cape Mount County, and the College of Health Science at the medical school, those are different spectrum of the current university that we are looking at, and not those of us who were there in the 70s and the 80s and just believe that the university is only on Capitol Hill and we are squeezing 22,000 students on Capitol Hill. That's not the case today.
Okay.
All right. So quickly, Moses,
go ahead.
Before you come in, I just want to post this quick from one of our he was here. He says, why the university grounds is in such a bad shape? Bad roads on campus, the structures are broken down, leaky roof, no sanitary, good restrooms and stuff like that. And we see these things trending on social media. Are these things being made up, Doc?
Well, some of them made up, and we are doing our best to improve them. And it's one thing to believe that everything you see on social media to be the best you can find. But sometimes when you all receive these stories on social media, it is good to get the current realities on the ground. The past 4 months in 2022, the university, with support from the Liberian government, did some renovation works at the university Capitol Hill campus that we are continuing. The government have committed itself in 2023 to give an additional 1 million to continue renovation works. This thing, the last time there was a major renovation at the University of Liberia is 35, 40 years ago. To renovate and put those things, we need funding. And therefore, it must be in context. If a state-run university, the last time they had their major renovation was 40 years ago, then you don't believe that we will do all that we need to do at the same time run academic year. Should we close the school until we finish the renovation? One idea said no. It is possible to do some, open the school, while students in school, when they go on break, you do some renovation. But we get to be careful, whatever we see on social media, to conclude that the A, B, C to Z of the university without looking at the current reality that we are dealing with.
Okay, Dr. Nelson, just to piggyback on a question that Volcano asked earlier, today's world has become a global village. Yeah, it is true. We are based in the United States. We consistently track developments in Liberia and other parts of the world. And studies have shown that the university continues to struggle with issues of overcrowdedness of classrooms. Accessibility has become very high. You have more students enrolling at the university. It appears you do not have the structure to really accommodate the number of individuals that are coming. And we continue to get this report about poor sanitary condition, on the various campuses of the university, shortage of chairs. Are you implying that out of what is reported in the public media don't reflect the reality on the university campus?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying not everything you guys receive on social media should be seen as Lord and gospel.
Okay. So
those were realities of the university that we are improving.
Yeah.
That we are improving. And my visit to the U.S. the last time to the Alumni Association was to appeal to you to give back to your university.
Okay.
All that you're talking about, we need the resources, the funding to build structures. We need the funding to have more faculty to be developed. And so if the national envelope is that small and we're getting some of it, what I will hope after all the different pictures you are presenting, we'll see how best you yourself give back to your alma mater so that we can do those things you are referring to. But some of the information you are giving come from the time that some of us were in college to see the university that's on the Capitol Hill. And so there are efforts now, because of all of those issues, the government committed itself in 2022, gave us $1 million to do renovation. They have committed ourselves in 2023 to give an additional $1 million to continue renovation and put in structures. I'm asking you to join us in that process, show us the challenges, but help us to contribute to resolving those challenges. It is not only the best thing to also lift up all the challenges and the ugliness of the university and don't pick up the other side of the university and see how best each of you can contribute to the university to achieve those things you want us to put in place.
Okay. So that let's look at staff. As a research shows that, I don't know how accurate is that, but it says you have a teaching staff of 313. And as a result of that,
it got to be in 1998.
Okay. And it is also reported that you have more teaching assistants, professors. You have professors who are working full-time for the university, at the same time employed in other areas. Some work for private universities, some also work full-time for the government. Do you see double dipping yet? What's going on?
Well, the first thing is that the teaching staff at the university currently, our full-time staff for faculty is over 900, and the part-time core that is above 600. If you add the two, you're talking about 1,007 to 1,800 teaching faculty at the university, and not 300.
Okay.
Additionally, when we had the war situation, there were more people who were teaching the system. Over the past 15 years, there have been faculty development. People have gone to school, have come back to join us at the university. And so the current realities at the university is that we don't have 300 faculty at the university. We have up to 2,000 plus faculty teaching at the university.
Okay.
When you work at the university as a faculty, you teach, your time finished. Whatever you do with your time afterwards is your responsibility. And since there are less faculty profile we have in the whole republic, some of our colleagues work at other universities in that process that don't conflict with their teaching schedule at the University of Liberia. There were issues of double dipping that being a government policy. The government of Liberia decided to relax that policy because according to the same code of conduct, if they have to deal with the issue of an academic institution, you are allowed to work on another place, but also give your services to the university at a part-time level in that process. So the code of conduct did not stop people from teaching at the university while working in other institutions. What they say, you can't do it. You can't do both full-time if you're on the government payroll. But right now, this government decided to relax that issue while we try to build the capacity of the university going forward.
But that, in terms of effectiveness, I don't know how the university operationalizes its full-time status. Are you talking about 8 hours a day? If it is 8 hours, then how possible that Moses Sandy will be at the university 10 o'clock in the morning, at the same time working at the Ministry of Information, 10 o'clock at the same time in the morning? How doable is that?
Well, Moses, then you get to understand the academic institution. Those who are teaching faculty give 40 hours per week that have to do with teaching time, office time, preparing, all of that in that capsule per week.
Yeah, that's 8 hours a day.
Those of us who are in administration have a different schedule. So if I'm on the teaching faculty, I have my class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After teaching, I go to my office. I go other time to do that work, but I will complete when the academic semester is through to do my exam and turn my grades in. When we don't have the academic center going, I'm also free, but the government of Liberia pay me for that particular period. So those who are in the academic community of the university have a different schedule than those of us who are in administration. Come howbeit, we work at that particular time, and if I'm a teacher and give my hours and I teach my classes and I'm free, I have the room now to use my own ability to see how best I can balance working or providing educational service to other institutions. But the deans and chairperson in those colleges are responsible to monitor and work with their faculty colleagues to achieve that goal as we run from semester to semester.
Okay. Volcano?
All right, Doc. So I quickly want to ask the question, what's the average salary at the university for me who want to come back to Liberia and to contribute to the learning environment? Is the salary attractive enough to, attract good teachers, good professors? And if
attractive in the context of Liberia, or also attractive in the context of comparing it to the US? We get to be
as per Liberian standard.
No, but with the Liberian standard, well, no, but attractive enough is also general.
Yes,
attractive enough in the context of other universities. In the context of other university salary structure in Liberia, the University of Liberia is the best.
Okay.
So
what's the
our instructor have been with the new restructuring of our salary between 1,300 to 1,400. Assistant professor about 2,000, 1,900 to 2,000 and 2001. If you take that to other universities, the University of Liberia salary is the best in the Republic for those in the educational sector. If you want to compare that to the United States, then the contexts are not the same. So that is why we are asking you to come.
So what's
but thank God for the blended learning option we have now, you can remain where you are, but still contribute to your alma mater, to the university, and help us teach classes online without uprooting yourself from where you are in that process. And we also pay very well for those who are part-time or high-time professors.
But now you have our resume already.
Yeah, and good to have you. And we're looking forward for you to join us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're going to come to that. But what's the recruitment process like? Because Liberia, Doc, I don't have to tell you the degree of corruption in our country, the degree of corruption in every sector. But let us not put the university.
That's a big general statement. Volcano.
Yeah, I'm saying in many of the sectors, Doc, I come to Liberia, Doc.
I say you don't come to Liberia, but when you're on the platform and you just make a general statement in that way, then good to put in context. Today you are discussing the University of Liberia. You make a general statement that corruption is all over Liberia. Then we get to look at what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll
the
make
point,
sure
the
tonight
point I wanted to make,
that will be in context.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's stay in context.
Volcano, go ahead. Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, let's stay in context, and I like the check and balance here. But again, the Liberian people know, people who are on the grounds, people who visit the country, people who interact with the different sectors in the country, Doc. And in honesty, the question I wanted to ask was the recruitment process. What is the recruitment process like compared to getting the right kinds of people with a credential? Because we've seen where people bring fake credentials, and even the LBDI, the bank right there, the president brought fake credential and he worked for more than a year. So these are the things we're talking about. So how's the recruitment process for professors?
You want to work with us at the University of Liberia?
It's easy for people to come from overseas for degrees.
Well, and that is why there's a check process now. Right now, the university, working with the National Commission on Higher Education and the government of Liberia, we are doing a credential audit. There will be an international firm that will help us go through that or so. If you go to the States and come back and say you have this credential and we try to put it in the system, we don't catch you now, but later on we catch you, we'll deal with that particular issue. And so the issue of LBDR vis-a-vis the University of Liberia situation, I know you journalists have a wonderful way to want to intersperse all of that, but I want to stick to the University of Liberia context. Because if you want me to leave the university and go to the other context, the presentation I will be giving will be different. But in the context of the university that I'm the manager of, I know how we do things. You interested to teach at the university, you send out your profile, we send it to the appropriate department or college, they do the evaluation, and then say you start as a lecturer or an instructor based on a particular credential you have, your academic rank will be in a different category or so. So there's a process that is there, and people should not assume that people just come in without no credential, enter the university to teach without an evaluation process by the appropriate department, college, or the vice president of academic affairs before they are employed at the University of Liberia. That's not the case. There's a process we have that go through those credential audit. If we miss you, thank God we are working in the Commission on Higher Education and the government of Liberia for an independent credential audit of the University of Liberia as a pilot that will be extended to all the other public universities in the not too distant future.
Okay, so let me piggyback on that question. Let's say hypothetically, Moses Sandy King. Yeah. So hypothetically, let's say Moses Sandy came to Liberia and went to the university, and he was hired in the Department of Mass Communication as a professor. And you say, well, he graduated from Temple with a master's degree in, broadcast journalism or whatever. And then a year after, the university establishes that Mr. Sandy's credential is fake. When Mr. Sandy is asked to either resign or is terminated, will the university ask Mr. Sandy to restitute all the money that he earned illegally while claiming to be a graduate of Temple with a degree in mass communication?
When
is that how you intend to punish people?
Master degree, we will not give you the rank of a professor. You will start as an instructor. If you come with
Yeah.
a doctorate degree, we will
Yeah.
start you as an assistant professor. And if
Mhm.
for some reason we'll do it case by case,
Yeah.
based on the information we have available, if we do the verification through the commission or other processes and we don't pick that up, the time that we'll pick it up, we will start that discussion from that time and ask you to resign or leave the university in that process. Because your expo factor rule is very, very important. Until we find the information, we cannot be charging you when we did not have the information. But it will be done case by case based on that particular individual profile that we are discovering from an independent audit that you gave us the wrong information, and that will be dealt with our legal people as we go forward in the future.
Yeah. For the sake of clarity, the question here is Mr. Sandy was hired. He submitted a credential, that turned out to be fake. So it means that he committed a crime.
But
And
if
he
I'm employing Mr.
benefited.
Sandy, if
And
I'm
Mr.
employing Mr.
Sandy,
Sandy, I'm supposed to
yeah.
do the due diligence before finally employing him. If I didn't
Okay.
do so, then you cannot hold Mr. Sandy alone responsible.
Okay. Thanks for the
Because
clarity.
I ought to do the appropriate due diligence before the employment of Mr. Sandy. If
Oh,
I don't
okay.
do that, I'm discovering it later, then I can't hold Mr. Sandy responsible from the time I did not do my own due diligence and say that he alone should be responsible. It will be a shared responsibility, but then since we discover it now, we will take the appropriate action that will affect Mr. Sandy through the legal process.
I agree with you, Prof. Thanks for the education. Thanks for that. So now
All right,
you
Prof.
were talking about.
Let's quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to come in,
Volcano.
Moses. Quickly, let's
Mhm.
you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was quickly going to ask you about you mentioned here that I can stay in America and do render my service to the University of Liberia via e-learning and what have you. How structured is this process supported, considering the internet age and what happening in Liberia, the cost of data, Doc. I was there when they raised the tariff again on it, and the price went up, and not everyone can afford to have internet. No, I'm being practical. I just came back in May, Doc. I was there when they raised the tariff. So not everyone able to, and some of the students are barely able to. So how is it working out for the university?
The university made a decision
via
to be
internet and so forth.
To be a blended learning university after our experience with the COVID-19. But it's good to know during the Ebola process, since we were now up to speed in our ICT industry, we closed the school down for 6 to 9 months. We could not do any educational work as an institution of higher learning because the ITC industry was not in place. That was our experience with the Ebola. When we got to the COVID-19 process, we did all the research for ICT, and we got to the point after all the test processes, helping our faculty and students to make the decision that going forward will be a blended learning university. Beside the University of Liberia, all institutions around the world, we are struggling with the online project to be a blended learning university because of connectivity, all of those issues. But even while we deal with it, the opportunities are available for those students who are able to register for courses online, and those of you who are faculty, colleagues, or lecturers to teach those students who can afford that at that level. At the same time, there are opportunities for those students who to register for face-to-face. That's why it's a blended learning. So those that will register for online courses will make the appropriate decision so that they will get their lectures online using the data packages that they will receive. On our end, those faculty members who will then provide lecture for our students online, we provide data packages for them so as a way to be able to respond to those situations. So there are people everywhere in the world helping us teaching with different lecture in the undergraduate, graduate, and professional schools. And that's been going on for the past 2 years, and we stay evaluating and improving the system as we go by. But internet connectivity, we have a lot of rains here. When it rains, the whole system is broken down. You just warn me this evening that you hope that my connectivity will be okay for me to do this program. So some of the issues are beyond our capability because it's a whole national process, but we get to work in that context. We can't shut down everything because it's not perfect as a way to keep moving on in the Republic of Liberia. So we'll do the best we can. And I'm asking you to join us in explaining that process to help us be the best that we can be.
And Prof, I like your creativity being put into this because earlier when you spoke about e-learning, that was the concern I had before Volcano asked that question. You will agree with me that one of the challenges we have back home is that we have a good number of our students who are not computer literate, who do not even have the resources for online training. But I think at the university, you people are taking a real good step to ensure that those who have that kind of challenge or challenges are given, extra opportunity to continue with their education. I think that's commendable.
And
Now
we have
yeah.
our ICT team provide opportunity for students to brush up on their computer skill. And our Senate have made a decision that any student now graduating from the university must do 2 semesters of computer literacy before they graduate from the University of Liberia.
Okay.
And we
So
have now a new program in communication, computer science, and information services at the University of Liberia.
okay. So now let's look at your curriculum. Where is the university emphasis right now in terms of curriculum? What are the key areas that the university is focused on producing graduates in?
In all discipline. That's why the University of Liberia was established. But we can share with you over the past 3 years across the university, department by department, we are revamped all the curricula of the different department and institution. We are working on some of them in the exercise. Some of them that were there from the 50s or 60s, we were forced to regroup and tell those departments to do a retouching of their particular curricula. Let me share with you, for example, the medical school, where you had to have a bachelor's degree before going to the medical school. They have revamped that process. They have a different track now. You come from high school, you get the pre-med program. You do that, it's a preclinical program, and then a clinical program that will take you 7 years instead of the 9 years that was in the past. We are getting different areas in nursing, the area of public health, environmental science. Those are opportunities, new programs that respond to the current reality that have been developed, and those curricula are vetted by the professionals in those areas and approved by the Senate before they are implemented at the university. So pharmacy, medicine, all of those areas have revamped their curricula to move us into the different age that will be on parity with our colleagues in the sub-region.
Okay. Volcano.
Quickly, I would like to remind you, if you're just joining us, we're here in the issues room. Our guest here tonight is the Reverend Doctor, in fact, Julius S. Nelson Jr., the president of the University of Liberia. He is here, just having discussion, considering where the university is, where he met it, where he's taken it, and the progress being made so far. We'll be opening the line very shortly. I know a lot of you in the audience want to call in to ask questions. Just hold tight. We'll be coming to you. We'll post the number to call 404-272-2808. We'll be posting that number very shortly. So again, we invite you to keep sharing the link. Invite others to join this conversation tonight. I think it's a great conversation here. Doc, so far everything is going well. You've checked me 2 times. So I like that.
Yeah.
But again, someone wanted me to ask you this.
His students,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, and I'll just put the question to you quick. The question is: are you accepting credits from other learning institutions in the country? And is the credit hour per as per the e-learning free like the normal fees that regarding the total free education program? So it's the e-learning portion is also free, and whether you are accepting credit hours from other institutions in the country.
Once they are honor graduate student, they also benefit from the free tuition policy. If they're in a graduate in a professional school, they do payment for the credit hour, and it's embedded in that particular process. We do a accepting of transcript or credit hours from other institutions. However, we have a understanding that if you are coming, for example, from a school that is having a political science and you have not graduated, the transfer credit we don't just take you. If you graduate from the community college, that is a 2-year program, and then we vet your particular transcript, you are accepted, because we don't want to get to the point where students in Liberia will leave all the other university to come to the University of Liberia based on transfer. If there's an area that is not available in the other institution, case by case, it is evaluated, and then we accept those students based on the criteria you have a BRH with your transcript to enter the University of Liberia.
So, Dr. Nelson, you are talking to people globally tonight. If you were to tell those people the needs of the university, what would they be?
They will be in several areas. Our need for continuous faculty development support is always the top on our list. Our faculty profile with the number of students, we need more faculty colleagues. Right now, let me share with you that we have over 78 or 80 students in different parts of the world being sponsored by a different partnership arrangement who are starting to come back to the university. When Dr. Dennis, our father who was there before, when he came, there was one person in the chemistry department that had a master's degree. Today, we have over 15 persons with master's and PhD in the chemistry department. And that goes. Engineering, we now have developed a College of Engineering after a partnership with the USAID through an e-health program that developed a College of Engineering program. We're working with UNDP. We have a program now, environmental science, climate change, biodiversity at the University of Liberia. We have started a public health program. We just put in place the computer science. So those areas are being developing, but we need additional faculty. The next area is the issue of ICT and the improvement of our research portfolio at the University of Liberia, while we also try to source additional resources to minimize our dependency on the government of Liberia. So we are exploring opportunity for investment or resource mobilization, income generation that will help us minimize our dependency. Before that came on board, there was a study done at other African universities in West Africa as to where they gather additional support in addition to government subvention that was given. And that led us to explore those possibilities of finding income generation possibilities that will help us generate additional income to add to what we receive from the government of Liberia. In that process, we have now established what we call the Lux Investment Corporation as a CMR business arm of the University of Liberia to deal with those issues of income generation to subsidize our budget as we go forward at the university. So those 4 areas will be what I will.
All right, let me open the line.
Faculty development, ICT, research, and research mobilization for expansion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me just quickly open the line so that folks can call. The number again is posted 404-272-2808, 404-272-2808. This is the 114th edition of the Issues Room. Our broadcast on Tuesdays and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and midnight in the Greenwich Time Zone, GMT. Volcano, Shelton, Moses, Sandy, and Dr. Julius Nelson, the president of the UL. We have a caller right now. Quick, this caller is calling from Massachusetts. Good evening, caller. Your name?
How you guys doing? My name is Ansu Dwalu, and I'm calling from Massachusetts. I want to thank. Great show tonight. I'm listening to the Dr. Reverie, but I was just curious. Honorable Doctor, where did you get your PhD from, and from which university? Thank you so much.
I have a doctor of ministry degree.
Did you hear him?
Yeah, I heard him. I have a doctor of ministry degree from the United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. So, Dad, thanks for providing that information. You were in the United States, I think, a little over 2 months ago. Came for the University of Liberia Alumni Association in the Americas convention. So right now, how would you describe the relationship between the your administration and the Alumni Association, especially the association based in the Americas? How would you describe that?
Pleasant,
Doc,
cordial.
Doc, just hold the answer. Let me take this caller quick, and then we can just put the two together. Caller calling from a New York number. You have to lower your monitor in there. You're in a noisy area,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Your area is too noisy, caller. You got to find a.
Yeah, that
All right,
that
Doc, just continue, Doc.
yeah. Go ahead, there.
Our relationship with the Yuliba Nation is cordial, professional, and we believe that we can grow it better than where we find ourselves. And I'm happy that I had the opportunity to visit with them at their national convention. It is my hope that you all will continue to work together and that the team you are running in the Yuliba Nation of giving back to your alma mater, we want to encourage that, and we want to challenge you, those of you who have the ability to join us in the environment for lectureship. We will appreciate that. Those of you who can give back in different areas, contributing chairs or other things, so that we'll be happy with in that process. But I want to thank Madam Sandra Harry Ball for working with us. And let me also make reference to the former president, Mr. Melvin Howard, who worked closely with me when I was the Dean of Students, Vice President of Student Affairs, before they turning over to this new leadership of the University of Liberia Alumni Association in the Americas. But I believe it is cordial, and we look forward that it will grow from strength to strength.
Are you people currently working on a joint project, the Alumni Association and the University Administration, and a joint project for the betterment of the university?
During the transition from Mr. Howard to the current president, there was a signature project about a multi-purpose complex that was to be built in Liberia. They came there, they broke ground. But for us, we want to work it to be a joint exercise because it's part of the university development plan. So we are doing that jointly. But while we are waiting for that project to mature and achieve that in 5 to 10 years, there are other smaller projects that we want to put before them that they are considering. For example, when Mr. Howard was there, we did a quick impact project. The Alumni Association got us the uniform for our different varsity sports team, got us the marching band set. When I was there recently, I put before them the need for durable and quality chairs that we need for the university with the expansion that we were working on, and other possibilities that will be helpful so that we can achieve that why we work together on that signature project of the multi-purpose complex that will be a home for the Alumni Association that are doing that project in conjunction with the University of Liberia. But for us, that is a long-term exercise. In the meantime, as we expect these students who are coming, we need to see how best we prepare ourselves with infrastructure and additional material, laboratory equipment. We're trying to build up a computer lab. Right now, let me share with you once again, we are digitizing the university entrance exam. Now the graduate and professional school entrance exam are all digitized. You walk into the computer room, you do your test as you are leaving, you know your results. By 2023, we want to move the undergraduate test to also be digitized so that as you leave in the hall, you will know your results and we'll go from there. So we are moving the stake upward and upwards there at the University of Liberia.
All right, Doc. So
Okay, now.
my question here to you is, I know on July 26, some university student went before the American embassy to demonstrate, and it was alleged that some members of the ruling government political party, the CDC, had gone and got in a scuffle with them, and that led to one of the university students being brutalized to the point that he had to be taken out of the country. What is the status of that young man, and is the university involved with making sure that something like this does not happen to its students? I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, let me think along with you. The university is a school for adults, men and women of the University of Liberia, as we call them. And when we close down the university as an institution for these holidays, you become a citizen of Liberia. Your activity, your action beyond the university campus is your responsibility. We were now in section. So when we tell our students, If you are not on campus, you get on the streets of Monrovia, you are in the hands of the national police. On campus will protect you. So any activity but our students who are also citizens of Liberia, outside of the university campus, we want to discourage that while they are students at the university. But at the same time, because they are citizens of Liberia, you have these different interaction. It was unfortunate that happened, and we engaged the student leaders several times before that particular event. That was not the best thing to do. We were expecting 5 presidents. It was a holiday, independent of the university, and we believe it was better to do that on the university campus. They made a statement 2 or 3 days before that time, and it was not necessary to do a demonstration outside the university as university students on the independent day of the Republic of Liberia. So activities of students who are citizens of Liberia beyond the university, when the university is closed, cannot be an issue that we deal with as the university administration. When we are open on our campuses, we intervene, work with the national police to see how we can bring those issues down. When we are closed officially, and you as a citizen of Liberia attending the university, go and carry on other activities that will lead to the intervention of the government of Liberia, we don't have that challenge to be able to respond to that. That would be the other side of the coin. We protect our students when they are on campus. When they leave our campus and go back into the community, they are men and women of the Republic. And when they are on our campus, they are men and women of the University of Liberia.
But Dr. Nelson, as a university, one of your students, Volcano, asked was Mayor Hender. And right now, at the time this thing was reported, his condition was reported as being very critical. Is the university in any way making any effort to follow up on his status? Is he well? If he's not well, what is happening to him? He's one of yours. Are you? If not, if you say, well, university students are adults and whatever, are you in any way suggesting that for the fact that university students are adults, when something like that happens, the administration looks the other way?
No, Moses, I'm making a clarity that you didn't get. Before that day, the university administration has several encounters with the students. Yeah. Before the Independence Day, the student presented a position statement on all the issues of that particular time. Even the morning of that day, the Vice President and Dean of Students, Professor Sekou Conant, engaged the student leaders, discouraging them from going outside of the university campus for any demonstration. I, as president of the university, engaged for 4 hours the leader of that particular student political party that in the interest of the country, the university, it was not appropriate when the university closed to purport to be outside of the university campus to carry on activity. But let me also share with you, after that event, the Student Affairs Office visited all the hospitals, met with some of those students, and provided the necessary support that we needed to give. But the student, Chris, was taken out of Liberia, and the colleagues are given information, his situation. The point I was making, when students leave the university campus and they operate as citizens of Liberia, you get to balance the two. We are responsible for them when they are on the university campus. When school is open, when school is closed and they are in their communities, yes, they are university students, but when school closed, they have responsibility for themselves in their communities. Good to balance that pendulum in the process, not to say that the university didn't do anything about it. We met with them, they called visited them at different places, and we had interaction with them before that July 26th, discouraging them from going on the streets on the nation's Independence Day.
Yeah, so the question Volcano put to you is that for now, for Chris, what is his current state of affairs, his well-being?
Chris is outside of Liberia. He's getting treatment and he's improving in the process, but he's outside of the country, and we don't have additional information beyond that point to give to you.
Okay. Volcano, go ahead.
Thank you. The number to call 404-272-2808. If you have a question for Dr. Nelson, we encourage you to call. Doc, the university was once one of the schools we call it small ball. We used to see good football team, good basketball team, volleyball team, and all of that. What is happening with the sporting activities at the university? Remember, we have a president in Liberia whose background is in sports, uh, and I'm sure a lot of young people really want to, do a lot of sporting activities. Is the university sporting department really robust and keeping the students busy with hope that they can participate in university leagues around the country? Because there are several universities now, and the private universities here, there, and yonder. And even we could do some crossing the border, go to Sierra Leone and play for our Bill College, or go to Ivory Coast or do something. What's happening with the sports program at the university?
We need to do additional work with our sports program to improve it, as you are reflecting on. So the last time we had an engagement with Cottington University came to our campus at Findale, and there were engagement. There have been interaction between the colleges, but we are discussing the possibility of involving ourselves at different level with Tottenham University, the Association of Liberian University in that process. But we need to recruit a sports director that we are working on that will bring our additional energy to the whole sporting program at the University of Liberia. And the Office of Student Affairs through Vice President Sekou Conant is doing that effort so that we can recruit a wonderful person that will lead us in a new direction of our sporting program at the university. The traditional ULCUC possibility, we had that recently. We want to see how we can explore that in 2023, and also our partnership with Tottenham University to play them those traditional opportunities. But we hope to participate actively in the Association of Liberian Universities, or through the LFA, bringing the different institutional higher learning together. But we're not there yet, and we need to do some work in that particular area.
Okay, so Dr. Nelson, a few weeks from now, we're going to be in the year 2023. If we were to ask you your plan for 2023 and the years to come, what would those? I mean, what would that be?
Well, we are trying now to finish our second semester of academic 2021-2022. We started late because of the renovation exercise. If we can complete that by March, we'll have graduation in April, and then begin our academic year 2022-2023 at that particular time. We hope we can achieve that with minimum problems. We also want to work with the government of Liberia to continue the renovation exercise that was started in 2022 to see what we can do at the College of Health Science campus in Concord Town, the Findale campus, and our Strass in J campus, because that renovation exercise, we need to continue every year until we can bring the university to what it ought to look like after 35, 40 years without a major renovation. And let me share here with you that in the renovation exercise, we've been blessed to have the support of the General Services Agency working with us, the Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment, the Ministry of Public Works, and the Armed Forces of our Liberia Engineering Battalion working with us in this renovation exercise at the campuses of the University of Liberia. If we can do that and have our next school year on schedule, that will be wonderful, but we hope that we can stay appealed and look for support in public-private partnership for the development of the new university setting in Findale that we want to start some work on in 2023.
Okay. So this question I want to put to you, mostly we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah.
This question I want to put to you quickly, Doc, has to do with the previous administration declaring the Liberian educational system a total mess. You started out at the university then. You took over the university, I believe, in 2019, if I'm right. What will you say now is the quality of education? How comparable the degrees being awarded to some of the students from the University of Liberia, as on par internationally, that it meets international standard?
Well, two things. One, it is always good to put the statement that was made by the previous government in context.
Okay.
Mess of what? What was there before? What you met? What was the process? Was that statement made at the time when the review that was being presented? So we need to find the context of that statement. If we do the comparison, we have students graduating, going to other universities, and competing at the top level in other institutions in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, and in the Americas. They are coming back with flying colors. So if you want to go to that extent and say if our products that we are putting forward that have gone to other institutions are not able to graduate or complete their work, then the issue of the mess will be in place. But if they're not that case and they are graduating with flying colors, coming back with their master's and PhD and joining the educational sector in Liberia, then that particular statement was made in the context that we all need to describe and find what was the situation at that time. Are there progress being made? Yes. What can we look? Look at the result of our students from WIEC. Look at the students who are graduating and where they are going for additional studies. I told you just now we have 80 faculty colleagues who are in different universities around the world. They graduated from the University of Liberia and they are doing their best to get their master's and PhD and come back to the University of Liberia or other educational institutions. So I believe that statement, when it was made, where it was made, is very important to understand how we put that in the context of the educational sector of the Republic of Liberia. Our products that have gone out, those of you that graduated from the university, you are in different places, but the foundation that was given to you by the University of Liberia was the standing stone that you stayed on to get your master's, your PhD, and now today you are contributing to the American society, and I'm hoping that one day you will also contribute to the Liberian society in whatever sphere of life that you can help us in that exercise. But I believe we're not what we used to be, but we are progressively moving forward, and I don't want to deal with the issue of mess because they were done at a particular time in a particular context, and it's good to understand that, then generalize and believe that the Liberian educational system is a mess. Our people that graduate from the medical school, the law school, other areas that have gone away, we can't hear any report that say they didn't do well because the education system is a mess. They come there, they graduate, they come back and contribute to the human capacity development of the Republic. So that issue of the educational system being a mess must be placed in context, why it was said, when it was said, the meeting that it was in. All of that is very, very important to do that general statement about the Liberian educational sector.
So you're comfortable with degrees coming out of the university and you can back them in fairness and
yes, I can back them in fairness, but you got to remember now, there are some of us that go to school and the school don't go through us.
Okay.
Other people go to school, the school go through them. And when you have that particular change in the whole basket, not because there's an apple in the basket that is causing a problem, so you describe the whole basket as being unuseful. No, that would be the extreme.
So, Doc, in fairness now, if the school went through the president, how they got a degree?
Well,
that's what I want to.
The intention of a person going to a university, people go to university for different reasons.
Okay.
Some of you guys went to the university not necessarily to get the education, but to find your lifetime partners. Other people went there for different issues. But at the same time, all about when you get to the university in your first 2 years, people are just checking what to do. They're not sure what they want to achieve in life. So all those are possibilities. But to graduate, you must meet certain credit hour limit for you to graduate. If you meet that limit and you are brought forward by your department, your college, they send it, approve you, you graduate. You have the responsibility to then defend why you say you learned during those sections of your lecture. And that particular description is also on the student and on the institution. But I know that some of us have gone to high school and the high school don't go through us. Other people go there and the high school go through them. And so that evaluation got to be done student by student, case by case. Then the generalization that make it appear that nothing good can come from out of Liberia. That is not true. There are a lot of good things that have come out of Liberia. I'm looking at two of them now, Moses and Volcano, who are the best that they are doing what they are doing because of the foundation and the experiences they received from the Republic of Liberia.
Agree.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Fair statement, and I accept it. Yes, Liberia is my foundation. You're right. And like you said, I went through the school, not the school went through me. That's the difference.
So you have me the professor to better explain his statement, right?
Yeah, I went through the school walls, the corridors of
Yeah, but you know that there are people that go to a school, they don't have an idea. They go to a school, the car put them down, they come from class, they get in the car and go by, they have no idea. The office of the dean, the office of what the student center is, they got no idea. Those are the people that go to a school, but they don't know the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
And so you get to put that situation there for we to be clear as to the differences in our student community, those who are involved in the life of the different institutions they go to, and those who just go there, get to class, go back to work, go home, don't have no interaction with the student community. They graduate, but they don't know the institution.
okay.
And there are a lot of people in that category.
Thank you.
So, as and this is a general question, Prof. It goes beyond the University of Liberia. As a professor, as a president of the second highest learning institution in West Africa, what is the way forward for making our educational system effective? What can we do as a country to really make, you know, improvement in the area of education in Liberia? What do we need to do as a country?
We need to reform our educational system, but not starting at the tertiary level. Now there are different activities in Liberia that is taking us back to the early childhood. In the development cycle, the first 0 to 5 years of any child growing up are the best time to implement the whole process of the educational system. So early childhood education is taking roots in Liberia, and I believe the educational authorities in Liberia are starting at that point to prepare them before they even get to the university. And if we can achieve that change, there have been support now from USAID through a project that we are all running with 8 schools that is developing a code of young people who will be trained for early childhood. So by the time they leave early childhood to primary and secondary, the quality we'll be looking for the colleges or the TVET institution will be what we'll receive. And so we must start that change process from early childhood before it gets to the tertiary institution. Faculty development. We need to increase our faculty development support. We've been asking the government of Liberia, let them put additional funding into faculty and staff development, because if you want to have the capacity of a free educational system with a lot of young people longing for the education, then we need a faculty student ratio to close down than what we have there today. The whole question that we are in the ITC age also needs some building into the whole educational sector. In the long time, when you say e-learning or online education, that was a taboo in Liberia. But COVID-19 have taught all of us that we are in the computer age. The young people who are coming now to the university are in the click age. And therefore, the institution of higher learning must adjust to be able to respond to those young people who are coming in this century, to provide the appropriate education that will not forget the digital industry that we find ourselves in today. And if we can balance that with our laboratories and the online education, I believe from the early childhood to that process, we will have built a whole educational infrastructure that will respond to the needs of our republic as we move to the future.
So that means that our government needs to make more investment into education, right?
Yes, we believe we've been calling on the government around the continent here or in West Africa. Most of the budget, they all agree, should be a minimum for education 20%. We're not there yet. We are asking them to see how best we can move that pendulum for the support for the educational sector to get from the 13-14% to a minimum of 20% while we engage in other possibility for income generation to support the educational sector. But let me say to our partners, especially so for early childhood, primary and secondary, there are a lot of support there. We believe that we can all work together so that it can also come into the TVET program and tertiary education as we go along to the future.
So, Doc, the question I have here is, when I was also growing up, there were teachers coming from other countries around the world teaching at the university in Nigeria, Kenya, India, and so forth. Who are some of the international partners you're working with regards to, because some of those people who were coming was being probably supported by their government to come to Liberia and perform the responsibility. Is that in place, or are you contemplating, reaching out to some of these countries in the past that have, long-standing history with the university to solicit support, whether teachers coming or whether material? What have you? Do you have any partners out there apart from government?
Yeah, we've been having discussion with our friends from the U.S. Embassy about the Fulbright program. Now they have the Fulbright Specialist program, and they believe that at a certain time they will revive the Fulbright program. The Peace Corps have come back with their offices here in Monrovia, and they are discussion. But let me share that in our health science area, there are a lot of support with support from the World Health Organization that has sponsored a lot of professors in the medical school and the School of Pharmacy, bringing that back into the process. We have engagement now with several other universities and people coming from Nigeria, from Botswana, Uganda, into our educational center that will be helping. But right now, mainly from Nigeria. But our health sector at the university is the one that is benefiting from professors from other countries who are on the faculty of the University of Liberia Medical School and the School of Pharmacy. We believe that when the Fulbright program open up, we believe that we can engage our friends from the U.S. so that there will be faculty that will come. But let me also share that we have established a soft partnership with institutional higher learning on the continent of Africa, where we are exploring possibility of faculty exchange. Last year, we went to Sierra Leone and visited 5 universities, University of Sierra Leone, Njala University, Honors by Krumah, the United Methodist University, and we are discussing partnership opportunity for faculty and staff exchanges and student exchange that we develop that program. A lot of our colleagues from the University of Cape Coast, just recently, the professor from Cape Coast that was here in Liberia, and we have signed an MOU with the University of Cape Coast to partner in different areas that will be reflective of our working with other institutions in the sub-region, on the continent, and around the world as we go forward.
So, that before we take leave of you, you just came from Zimbabwe. You
Yeah.
want to tell our university family the purpose of that trip and what does the university stands to reap from
Yeah.
from the trip abroad?
We went to Zimbabwe, Harare, to attend the 18th General Committee meeting of the Regional University Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture and the STEMS program. In 2018, the University of Liberia got membership into the ROOF Forum, is the acronym name for the Regional University Forum for Capacity Learning. That institution, since 2018, have given the university 27 slots to train our faculty in agriculture, science, and technology for master's and PhD through a partnership between a sending university and a receiving university. We send them, they are received by that university. Their tuition is part of the whole process at the level of that institution that is receiving them, and they are considered students. We just pay the living expensive, the medical insurance in that process. So ROOF Forum gave us 27 slots for PhD and master's training. The executive secretary who was responsible for that exercise was leaving the position and moving on to something. So we went there also to take part in the annual general committee meeting of that group. There were scientists, there were students who were doing research, doing exhibition of what they've been doing since the last conference that was in Cotonou, Benin. And it was now time for all the universities in 8 universities in Zimbabwe that are members of the ROOF Forum hosted us. The president of Zimbabwe was the one that did the official opening. But the wonderful experience of research work in agriculture, science, technology, and new innovations that are happening on the continent from all of these universities. It started out in 2004 with 10 universities from 4 countries. Today, they are in 40 countries or 163 universities that are part of that particular regional body that is called the Regional University Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, Science, and Technology and Innovation on the continent of Africa. And we were celebrating that event and also bidding farewell to the professor who was the executive secretary from Uganda. After working from 2004 to 2022, he was bidding all of us farewell for his contribution to higher education on the continent of Africa in agriculture, science, technology, and innovation on the continent of Africa.
All right. Quickly, Doc, let me just put this caller through. It's the caller who called first. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Welcome. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Mr. Stevens. Okay, no, thank you guys for the show. Thank you, Doc, for your services to the University of Liberia and the Republic in general. I know you to be a man of good character and you have a good reputation as far as I have known you from Liberia. Thank you. You mentioned as far as the digitizing of the entrance examination for the University of Liberia. I believe that process will cause a lot of setback that students have faced in the past, especially when the paper entrance examination used to be conducted and some people used to be denied the opportunity of entering the University of Liberia even when they have passed the entrance. We know how it went. But another question I have for you, I believe Mr. Shelton had asked you that question, but it wasn't fully answered. That had to do with the accreditation of other institutions of higher learning, community college and other private university in the country. You did mention it got something to do with a case-by-case situation. Are you fully accepting credits from other institutions, or is there a particular area you have accreditation for? That's my question, and thank you for your time.
Accreditation currently is done by the National Commission on Higher Education with the approval of the board or commission that supervise the secretariat. What I was explaining, that the university had in the past a relationship with this institution that we evaluate the credit. Now in the new dispensation, people who graduate from community colleges have the opportunity to come to the university as transfer students, but they must come with a BRH. What we are now opening up is that you come from any discipline and come to the university. If we do that, because it is tuition free, students at all the other private universities want to come to the University of Liberia. We don't have the structure and the capacity to receive all of them, and that is why we take people or students from areas that they don't have the particular discipline or degree program to transfer to the university. If you come from a university offering political science and you want to come and do political science to the UL, we will say you can't be transferred. You got to take the entrance exam, pass and the regular process to do that, because if we open that out, all of these private institutions that are charging $17 or $25 per credit hour, they will not have students because they will all come to the University of Liberia in the process.
Everybody won't be politician.
So that is why we do it for the sciences and other areas. It is done case by case. But when you graduate from the community college with a BRH, you can easily transfer to the University of Liberia.
Oh, okay.
So now here's my question before we wrap this up. Next year, the elections coming.
Yeah.
How prepares the university and prepared in the context of how do you see the elections outcome impacting the university, going forward?
Well, those of us who are at the university, we are also citizens of Liberia. And so all of us are preparing that we pray, trust, and hope that those of us who are citizens of Liberia and know the constitution that we, the people, at the time designated, will go through a smooth transitional process to elect our leaders. We prepare ourselves to do that. The university is a state-run university. Whichever government gets elected have the responsibility to support the University of Liberia. So we are open to those discussions. But as a university and those of us who are citizens of Liberia working at the university, we utilize our political dispensation and decide which political party bring the appropriate recipe to move the Liberian people forward, and we'll use our political rights, our voting rights at the appropriate time to vote that particular administration in. Whichever government gets elected, it is the obligation of the government of Liberia to support the running of the University of Liberia. And so we look forward that all of us will ensure that we'll steady war no more. We'll work hard to ensure that the elections are peaceful, they are free, they are fair, and all of us Liberians will go to the ballot box without confusion and elect our leaders for the next 6 years. That will be my wrap up to all of us who are, and those of you who are in the United States and for some reason now you don't have the right to vote, support us peacefully to have the elections in Liberia. Do the best you can do to ensure that we are peaceful. Because most often, all the issues about our political process, when the halubalu come, most often it comes from across the river. And I want to encourage all of you across the river, join us. Whatever we do, let it be peaceful, because we don't study war no more in the Republic of Liberia.
And so to follow back on that question that to follow up on that question that Volcano asked, will the university ensure that its facilities or its campuses are not used for campaigning? Because very soon we'll start campaign activities in Liberia. Will you ensure that your facilities are not used to champion the cause of any political party or any individual for that matter?
In 2017, for the general election, the university laid down a guideline that must be respected. You come to the university, you must tell us a week or two in advance. We will accommodate you in the auditorium and will not be under the Palava Hall. And once you met those guidelines and were approved, the university is part of the macrocosm of the larger society. So we cannot say that at the university, people from all political spectrum are at the University of Liberia. But if for some reason we are closed, and then the facility will not be open. If we are open, then using those same criteria, we will see how people can have all sides of the coin, can have opportunity to do whatever dispensation they want to do, giving each other the benefit of the doubt. Come what may, there will be procedure how you can utilize the university campus for whatever political rally at a particular time. And we believe that those guidelines will be released very, very soon, before we even get to June, that everybody will respect that, follow that procedure, and will make it safe for all of us at the University of Liberia.
So there will be no picking and choosing. Everyone will have, once they follow the guidelines.
Yeah, once they follow the guidelines, it will be open to everybody, any party to use that in the exercise or so. That's what we are, the macrocosm of the larger society. That's where the leaders are made. And since you're talking about election, some of those leaders that you're talking about will come from the university. Those who are on staff, when they are approved by the National Election Commission, they have to take some time off to do that work outside the university campus. When the election over, they will come back in. But that laid down guideline is there for those colleagues who are faculty or the university or staff that want to actively participate in that election process. One, they are approved as a nominee by the election commission. They are given time off from the university to carry on their campaign. But all the different parties following the guideline to utilize the university campus will be respected. One, they respect us, our guideline, we will also respect them, and we can work together to have a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful elections in the Republic of Liberia. We, the people, will elect our leaders, and come what may, that's why it's all about the numbers and the vote. When we get through with that, we close our hand, prepare for the next election, but let it be peaceful. Nobody go into the no bush. Let us also do that very well, because we want to study war no more in the Republic of Liberia.
And let me ask you this hypothetical question. If one of your vice presidents come up in 2023 and endorse a presidential candidate, what action will the university administration take against such person? Because you want to be seen as neutral.
Well, the university vice president that will do that because he or she is a member of a particular political party case or so, we will be asking them, they will be doing it in which context? As an individual or because as a vice president and member of my cabinet, you don't have the opportunity to say you then, as a vice president, endorse a candidate. We can all participate in a political culture without getting to that. We want to be a partisan politician, then make it difficult to be at that level of the cabinet or to endorse openly somebody who running for a particular position. You have that interest, go and do what you got to do, but hey, because of the university and the sake of the university being that neutral ground for everybody, it will not be the best interest of the university for you to then go ahead to say you are endorsing a particular political candidate. And then there will be some discussion to see whether you can go on ahead to campaign. When you get through, then you come back in that process to go from there. But it will not be in the university best interest for senior administrators of the university to go openly to say they are endorsing or supporting a particular candidate in the process. I believe that we will discourage that and talk to our colleagues that we can do it other ways than doing that way you are describing.
Well, this will be my final question. Your vision for the university under your tenure and how will you want to see, how will you want to rather leave the university if you were to resign or be, recruited to something else? How will you want to leave the university? What is that vision?
It will be my hope that our faculty profile will improve drastically, that the student teacher ratio at the university will be what is usually found at other university, 1 to 25 or 1 to 40. I will hope that our research ability and publication.
You just said something. So what is the ratio now? 1 to 200?
Oh, one to 150, 75 in different situations. So it's very huge that we need to continue to train us. So additionally, we want to push our colleagues for research to be embedded in our work at the university, for people to publish in different international journals and peer review articles as one of the basic criteria for faculty promotion at the University of Liberia. We hope before that I can go from there, God's willing, that we will start those efforts, that will start a building exercise for the university smart city we are thinking about on our Findia campus, 18 miles from Monrovia. And lastly, I hope that we'll do some work in our investment portfolio that will reduce our dependency on the government from 85% of our budget to either make it 50-50 or 60-40. If we can do those one while we continue the exercise of in reducing the student-faculty ratio, that will be a wonderful way to leave the University of Liberia when that time comes.
Okay.
Well, Doc, Moses, come on, Doc got to go to bed now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. You want to put one more in?
No, go ahead.
You sure? No, that's not asking you. You want to put one more
in? I just wanted to tell him thank you for the time.
Oh, okay. Well, Doc, thank you so much. We appreciate being here with us tonight. I thought it was great conversation. We cover a lot of grounds. We dispel some of the notions. We clarify some of those dispelled notions. Some people may not be so certified, but for the most part, people can come to the university to see for themselves, like you said, because social media has a way of putting things out there. Some of the things we see, maybe it could be from another place, and they say like LDO, So thank you so much for being up this late. That's the mark of a professor. You can't be sleeping when you gotta be.
Let me thank you and Moses for this invitation. I believe that this will not be the last time. We'll find other opportunity to do that. And I'm always happy when you get me talking about the university or the educational sector. I can get up anytime to do that. And so I appreciate this opportunity and look forward to other opportunity that we can talk on other issues or so. And you get through the educational sector, you want to talk about the religious sector or peace and dialogue in Liberia or even the political structure. If I take out the educational cap, we can talk politics at that level. So at different times, I will be happy to join you in this discussion. But it's a golden opportunity, and I want to appreciate both of you for this opportunity to talk to your platform, the Issues Room, this evening. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. It was indeed a pleasure having you. We really appreciate the time you put into this. The information you provided, very meaningful for our many people. For our many listeners and our viewers out there. Thank you so much. Kind of convey our best wishes to you, other members of your administration, for the good work you people continue to do for the university in Liberia. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy.
Well, Moses, I don't know what's going on here with our whole little technology. My man, to tell you the truth, I just spent almost $500 out of pocket.
I know, man.
I bought some sophisticated gadgets just to update things by the internet, and I switched user, in fact, to Comcast. The blazing fast, I took almost a gig, and still we're having this little sticky.
I don't know.
I just came here and did the installation tonight, so probably I'll do some troubleshooting to see what's happening. But then somebody advised also that these people have the tendency to tell you to sell you 800 megabyte per second, and actually when you go to check,
it's less than that.
Yeah, you do a run or a test run, it's cheaper. I
Okay.
mean smaller rather, lesser in
Yeah.
actuality.
Hmm.
The other thing the guy said, oh, because I'm not using the gadget, I mean, what sense does it make you
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't add up. Do I have to use your
yeah,
gadget first?
a
No.
modem and a router for
Do you have to use theirs before?
yeah, almost $20, and then I'm not going to own it. So imagine that if I were to pay that amount for
Yeah.
my own personal router, and I will be with your service for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, don't have to change if there's good relationship, the stability, and all of that. The pricing makes sense. Then it costs me less than to rent a router from the carrier and paid all that money, but it
Yeah.
doesn't. I
You
can
pay
never own it.
monthly. Yeah.
So I bought my own router and I paid a substantial amount of money for it. He came and looked at it. He said, I've installed a lot of these around the country, and it's great router.
Rather.
Is actually a modem router into one.
Okay.
It's built by Motorola, and Motorola is a premier name when it comes to
Yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Electronics. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but now it's been stable for a portion of the program. So I'm not sure if it was getting, situated, because again, the guy was almost done with the installation before we came on. So again,
Yeah.
I just say we'll continue to work at it to make sure that we can, stop all of these freezing. But overall, great conversation. Uh, you know, some of the things they try to check me on, I just wanted to be a little
I know. Yeah.
understanding of the context of the conversation, because we're not people who bring our guests here to go, in a boxing fight, tick for tack.
No.
But there's a great reality to many of the things I was mentioning.
Yeah.
Lately the university had come on a fire for a lot of things, and the reality is that people can see, people can feel, people can taste, people can smell. Just the other day, students were almost not sure if the university was going to open.
Yeah.
So these things are happening day by day. But I think he's making effort, and all of
Yeah.
the things he
Yeah. I think he's making significant effort. You
all
know.
the things he mentioned, if they are actually the reality, then the university has come a long way and is
Yeah.
making steady progress. To say that we have hybrid education, 22,000 students plus, uh, almost 1,700 instructors, associate professors, and professors, and other, staff in the composition of the university, which was a bigger number compared to the number you found on the
Yeah.
old website.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I went online and did some research on the university,
yeah,
and but Dr. Nelson himself too. You heard him say that the ratio of students
that's that's
to
that's that's
professor,
massive.
150. That's a huge number.
Yeah, 275, but
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
that's a lot. That's a
And
lot.
honestly speaking, I think that's the downside of this free tuition policy initiated by the we administration for undergraduate students. So the university has become overwhelmed. You got too many students running to the university. The university cannot say, well, we're not going to, if the man says the entrance and pass the entrance, then you are under obligation to provide accommodation. And that's
But
why
the
the
other
number
thing,
is so high.
but the other thing he talked about 5,000 students waiting.
Yeah.
5,000.
Waiting to enroll. So
Yeah.
if you enroll 5,000 to the current, plus the current 22,000, you're talking about 27.
Yeah, 27. So,
27,000.
so honestly, the question I asked had to do with space and accommodation. We go to occasions in this country. If a hall can only take 150 people, you can go put 200 people there. The fire department will come.
I
So
think
I was
it was you that narrated that story to me,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I was in a program. I was at a program where we had to take time. The, the fire department said,
So, man, I can't go beyond.
we were enjoying the program, and nobody wanted to go home. So we
Yeah.
started taking turns. So some group would go outside and wait just to meet, just to
It's
meet the
over there.
capacity.
It's over there. Go sit down your customer, man.
Yeah, then the man who go inside, the other man who outside, the man that inside don't want to go outside. Then we'll send one representative to go on the
Maybe
microphone.
see my cousin, man.
The other man can go outside, so the next group can go back inside. And so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Capacity is critical to learning.
Yeah,
It's
it's
absolutely.
essential,
But
Yeah.
overall, man, such is the time, such is the condition. At
Yeah.
least, the university has made a lot of stride. I wanted to ask you about the dues of the university, but I
Oh,
I, I just thought to the extreme. This going to do
yeah.
some university.
I was almost tempted to ask that question, but I said no, no, no. Let me
Yeah,
not go there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it was going to go deeper into the political.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes you gotta let it go,
yeah. You gotta
yeah.
let it go.
But it
So
was indeed a great discussion. Dr. Nelson did a very good job. He was very
somebody
forthcoming,
Somebody
Yeah.
said he was a little combative, especially when I asked those two questions, he became animated, and he really wanted to emphasize and make his point. But overall, great
It
conversation, great
was.
conversation.
It was a great show.
We will do it again, and if he wants to talk religion, we'll bring him back because my
Yeah.
back. I have a little bit of upbringing in religion, and we can go that route, And at that
Yeah.
point, we'll have one other neutral person, but we invite someone who I have on
Yeah.
mind. We'll talk about that behind the scene. But I know he will like to come and talk about that. Peace and reconciliation, those prosperity gospel, in the country, and most of the, I wouldn't use the word so-called because I'm not in a position to say that when it comes to a religious person, but most of the today religious leaders in the country who are compromised by the political uh, dispensation. Some of them are now compromised to the point that they are in the pockets of politicians. So we can talk about those kinds of things. But overall, great conversation, Moses. I think we should
Great.
let it go and be back here on Friday. Friday, Thomas Awaji, if you're still there, will be bringing the president of the Atlanta Liberian Association in Atlanta. Mr. Bia Brople will be our guest here in the issues room this Friday. So hopefully we can get to know what's happening with the Liberian community in Atlanta. We talked about covering some of the other Liberian community organizations. So it's just about time that we reach out to Georgia and hear what they're doing. So again, our guest will be Mr. Bia Brookland this Friday. And Thomas said yes. We're looking forward to the show. So hopefully you can get on your man, all right, and let him get prepared so we can have this conversation. But overall, great talk. We'll have that promo ready in the coming hours for publication. Moses?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, indeed. A great show. And I would like to end on this note. I was very impressed with the comment that came from Dr. Nelson when he said that his administration will ensure that no one in leadership at the university that will engage in anything, in terms of politics that will compromise the neutrality of the university. I think that's a very good, stance that the university will be taking, because if you allow professors and administrators at the university to come out openly endorsing candidates that will just neutralize, I mean, not neutralize, but rather that will just compromise the neutrality of the university. I
All right,
think
so let's add this in.
commendable.
We got 2 minutes rather, because we're
Yeah,
wrapping up sharp 9.
yeah,
There were folks who were concerned about his answer regarding the situation with Christopher Civilli. But I think if you think about it, he was speaking in the context of the university does not accept kids; they accept adults, right? All
mhm,
students at the university are probably adults
they are.
in a portion, yeah. Uh, and the day the event took place was a national holiday, so there's no way that the university could have been in session. So any students who were acting in their own capacities, even though they were considered to be students of the university, but they were not acting on behalf of the university because the university was closed. And the fact that the administration had engaged them and said, this is not the appropriate day, this is not the appropriate time, we'll have a lot of guests in the country, let's do this another time. Or if you still want to do it, stay within the confines of the university grounds and do and make your petition statement. So I think that's where he made a clarification. So I don't want people going to think that the burden is on the university because you wear a university title, that you're a university student. When you're in your private capacity out there, you can just do whatever you want to do and the university will come to your rescue. I think that was a fair way he was trying to balance how he answered the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make that clarification from the way
he handled it well. Yeah, he handled it well.
Yeah. It's like me working for my organization and I'm home now. I'm an employee, but am I doing my company's business?
No.
So if I act up yet, am a company coming out for me or coming, but they still showed concern. Like he said, the student affairs department had gone to check these guys.
Follow up,
But with him particularly, because of the severity of his case, he was taken out of the country. So that means the visitation and stuff like that was aborted, but they were still able to keep
contact. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Moses, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. We want to thank all of you, Arthur Tati, for coming through, Ellis Stevens, Thomas Awaji, as usual. Adia Ha Umo, thank you all there in Australia, time difference, and you still hanging out with us tonight. Flomo Livingstone, thank you. Christopher Wesley, Gregory Himminstem in New England, Mapu Hall, GT Tugbe Wodra the third, what a name. Mia Johnson, thank you for joining us here tonight. We say also to Dr. Zize Gwepogi Bade. Gwepogi Bade. Okay, I'm going to make sure I put it on it good. Yeah. Godwin, we adore. We say thanks for joining us. Everyone who joined us here tonight. Agasi Oe Dwalu Ansu. It was good having you calling and contributing.
And tell that man we're missing him.
Yeah. Try to reach out to him, but apparently he's still getting himself situated from his trip back home.
Okay.
From back home. Frederick you. Thank you, my brother. Jay Dawala Hutchinson, all the way in Cancun, Mexico. Enjoying yourself. Wow. Good to have you here tonight. Okay, Moses. Good night.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, man. What's a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you on Friday. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah.